out for a walk. People are just girls. Everyone's walking around casually while this is going on. And anyway, I don't want to belabor this. But point is, despite all the show, this was just a clown show. These people weren't serious about stopping the crime or dealing with the problem. We have the opposite problem with ICE, I think, at the moment. But I found it very persuasive. Yes, the people are saying this is excessive. I mean, we can see it's excessive. But I thought talking about it more high level as far as what's really going on big picture is this is a move towards what we call fascism. And I don't think that an aggressive authoritarian fascism. I think all the switches are, even back from the Civil War, I'm looking up about when Lincoln suspended habeas corpus. If you listen to Steve Bannon was saying that the court cases didn't go Trump's way in the last, few months. If he wasn't going to be authorized for what he's doing, he was going to literally just suspend habeas corpus and just say, yeah, there's precedent. This is a crisis. We've had the seat, despite the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, all this stuff. We've had these carve-outs for whether just through precedent or de facto through law, as far as we went through a Cold War, and then we went through this neoconservative poison, this period of the Iraq-Iran, this Patriot Act, this surveillance. It's all behind the surface, but the surveillance state stuff really ramped up in the early 2000s, and it was all normalized, and it's to the level that mainstream Democrats supported this stuff. And all the levers have been there, and now with the Supreme Court leaning very heavily in the executive direction, all the levers are there to just be pulled one after the other as needed, so that basically it is a pretty unaccountable, dictatorial presidency. The unified, what do they call it? Unitary executive philosophy, even, that these people have. It's not good. I think this was basically been waiting to happen all the time. A lot of people did, a lot of libertarians or liberals, etc., who opposed the way things have been, all these rules that have been in place. They could see the potential for abuse. And now you do have a guy now, and people put a lot on the man himself, and but the thing is, we set up, he may have lit the match, but who basically built the giant pyre? Who basically poured the gasoline? He's just the match, and we shouldn't get too deranged about the match, because some other match was going to go off eventually as well. And we really need to take accountability down to the root code level. We need to think about constitutional conventions and electing representatives who are willing to change the Constitution and fix these holes. And I think take the power back to the representatives and to we the people again, and close all these loopholes very decisively. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Double. Marshall mentioning that the president is contemplating enacting the Insurrection Act. See, this is what he does. He says something, he says, I might do this, I don't know, we'll see about it, I don't know which way it's going to go. And then he gets us talking about it, and we talk about it and talk about it and talk about it. And the more the cable television networks talk about it, the better, because now kind of normalize the idea of doing it. Now, here's what Gary's fear is. Gary's fear is this. There's no insurrection going on now. We all know there's no insurrection. There are little pockets of resistance to ICE, but there's no insurrection. But what my fear is that it may become a self-fulfilling prophecy. If they enact the Insurrection Act, if they suspend habeas corpus, people people will feel they have no redress other than to act in an insurrection-like manner. Now, the federal government is much stronger than we, the people. And they have, as the president liked to say to Mr. Zelensky, all the cards. And that's true. But that doesn't mean that people won't get so frustrated that it boils over into where we have some people, greater numbers of people, committing violent acts against the government, which will then, of course, give the government the legitimate green light to increase putting its thumb on the necks of the people, or the foot on the necks of the people. That's my fear. We're going into dangerous times, and Congress has got to stand up to this, and I don't think that they will. Not this Congress. Les, you get the last word. And thank you, Double.
When the 2001, there were special sunsetted limitations to civil rights that were put into law. And we were promised that they wouldn't become permanent, that this was just because it was an extraordinary thing that happened with Osama bin Laden. Well, Mr. bin Laden's been dead for 15 years, and the law is still here. The legislature has to step in because we are protected. You know, the founding fathers had it that we had to limit the power because men are corruptible, and you can't depend on always having George Washington as president. So we have laws, and so we got bad laws or laws that have been abused. We have to just sunset the thing as we said we would. The Patriot Act, which was, people just put lipstick on a pig, and the Patriot Act perhaps had a usefulness, 15 years ago, but it needs to be repealed, and that's the root cause. Once you have that, then you and also to kind of clarify what are non-emergencies, what are emergencies, that where the executive can take over and be a dictator. Thank you.
You know, there have been times in our nation's history, Les, where we've seen this happen here and in other countries. And I think people of your generation and mine grew up thinking, well, this could never happen here. This happened, this history. Lincoln suspended habeas corpus. But that's history. And yes, the Union did survive that. But none of us growing up, none of the baby boomers felt after World War II that this country could ever get to this point where civil liberties are in danger in the manner in which they are today, at least in the anecdotal instances that we are seeing. But now I think maybe we understand how, not just in the United States, but in other democratized societies, they've started, they have had in history, a leaning towards authoritarianism. And if we're not careful, it's going to happen here. It's really very dangerous. And at our age, it's not us, as Ginny pointed out. It's our children and our grandchildren. This is what we're going to leave them? We're certainly not going to be known as the greatest generation like our parents' generation, you know.
And Lincoln, this was a wartime act, and I why he did what he did, but he believed that if he he knew that once he wasn't at war, he needed to have constitutional amendments to enact things like getting rid of slavery, the 13th Amendment, and then the 14th and the 15th Amendment. It was just, and we are not at war now. No one in Chicago in authority asked for Texas National Guard to come in and override the police. That's all I have to say.
Listen to the rhetoric coming out of the White House, however. Whenever the president takes what we might have considered in prior years unacceptable or unusual steps, it's because there is some kind of pending emergency that forces him to do so. And we are at war with the drug cartels. This is why we are blowing up fishing boats, or maybe they're drug running boats, off the coast of Venezuela, because we are at war with the drug cartels. And it is true that the drugs that have come in from south of the border have killed millions of Americans. I don't know how many, but an unfathomable amount of people. If it had been with guns, we would be at war. And it's the same mentality that apparently, if my reading of it is correct, led to the warrantless emptying out of an entire apartment building at 3 o'clock in the morning in Chicago, in the manner in which that occurred. Because we are at war, at least that's what the picture the president paints. So maybe in his mind, Les, he is a wartime president, exactly in the same manner in which was Abraham Lincoln.
We have a Congress. When Lincoln wanted to go to war, he had to get it through Congress. And people have to go on record and put their bacon on the line. And you just can't have one guy decide to go to war. I don't know how I feel about, Venezuelan boats or whatever. But I do know how I feel about Chicago being invaded by masked stormtroopers.
We'll leave it at that, Les. Thank you for that. Folks, we're here Monday through Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. New York time. So till 5 p.m. New York time tomorrow for the next edition of the Critical Thinking Forum. Everybody be safe, be well, and peace out.
Bringing and
That's really Kirk was literally with the pro-Israel trip
down to the Islam,
2 days before.
like it's a free for all, and it's like it's all volume, and it's like all wherever nothing matters, and nobody actually really knows, but they have
if
to
it's for
cling
all,
on to
then why do
something.
you have all the Birkin
And I
pushbacks
feel
and we don't?
that at some, because also I'm Persian and I come from the region, I kind of feel sorry for the region because I'm like, you're being sold something, but then also at the same time it's your own fault. But
If you mention the region one more time, I'm gonna have to kick you. Because I told you 13 times, it has nothing to do with the region. It has nothing to do with the region. Jesus comes from that same land. Moses comes from that land. All the other prophets come from that. I already told you, it has nothing to do with that region. It has everything to do with your twisted prophet. So stop falling back.
so what do you believe in? Are you Jewish or you're...
No, I don't like Muslim.
Yes, I am.
That's what it is. I just don't like Muslim niggas.
Well, nobody likes Muslim niggas.
Well, the other day... But the thing is, they've just been sold something that, but at the same time...
Again. They've been sold something, but you don't have an issue with the philosophy of Islam. But they've been sold something. So that's clearly what you're trying to say practicing that they shouldn't practice. How come you think it's hijacked? That's been my question since like half an hour ago.
Well, Muslims always
But
have.
you keep like threatening me. So for me, I have to start from the beginning.
No, you have to just tell me what do they
Well,
practice.
you have to.
They shouldn't
So
be practicing.
did the Christians like do they?
Okay, move this nigger to the audience, please. Can someone move?
Yeah, I don't think.
I can't let you film. Yeah, move this nigger to the.
Would it really?
You take this nigger. Okay, right.
Yeah, you can kick the nigger. It doesn't matter. Okay, kick her or move her to the audience. Well, whatever.
I can't. The audience. The next time she speaks on the. Go ahead, speak, baby.
Well, I mean, we don't have to agree.
Well, what's your evidence?
They kicked her.
She said something.
That's retarded, bro. So stupid. There's nothing wrong with Islam, but there's something wrong with Muslims. So it's not Islam, it's the Muslims. Why? Because they do exactly what Islam tells them to do. Okay, so they've been fed a different type of Islam. Okay, so what are they practicing that they shouldn't practice, bro? That really shouldn't be that hard for you to say. If you believe that there is an Islam and then there's another Islam that those people have received, it should then be clear to you what are they doing that they shouldn't be doing as according to the true Islam. Go ahead, she can't answer. It's wild, bro. Just so dumb.
But her class is full of Birkin bags and Coach bags and all the other
That's
stuff.
a very sweet ass.
She does sound like
She's so retarded that like this should, the ass must be very nice.
No.
I mean, there's got to be some sort of balance.
Usually the drawback is usually it's a dumb bitch.
I mean, I'm not sure that like it's very possible. I've interacted with her like somewhat of it.
It doesn't break, so I want to elaborate. I want him to explain.
It's like,
Yeah, but Kate Mobile has been dead for a long while, yeah? She's not showing up.
oh, she has a really?
I don't know. I wasn't in Ottawa this weekend, so I couldn't show up. But
I didn't even come on Clubhouse. It's my first day.
I mean,
I've been on here for more than 20 minutes. Where Kate just gets like that whole where it's just like she still doesn't hear other people talking. She just keeps going.
yeah.
Yeah, this is a problem, like...
Yeah, Kate Mobile has a sweet ass. She actually does. But she's drinking her life away, basically.
Oh, that's it's her liberation. So, what do you do?
Are you talking about that female from Toronto, Big Lock?
No, fuck no. Oh my god, bro. I always kick her. It's just, I just can't. It's like she's always on drugs. It's wild.
Man, I love niggers. So I'll say I do love niggers.
That's right.
Did you see this shit that Candace released?
Which one?
The screen chat.
You mean Candace Owen?
If you wish, donor.
Can you hear it?
I love
What's worth it? No. Can you tell us?
Yeah, I'll play it. Hold on. My voice is so easy now. Hold on, thank you. Hold on.
The screen chat has lost another huge Jewish donor. We will donate more because we want to cancel Tucker. I'm thinking of inviting Candace to my Facebook.
Can you hear it?
Will not be bullied like this.
Basically, there's a group text that he's Allegedly, this is 48 hours before he was killed. Let's see. Charlie texts, just lost another huge Jewish donor, $2 million a year because we won't cancel Tucker Carlson. I'm thinking of inviting Candace. Someone responded, ugh. And then Charlie said, Jewish donors play into all the stereotypes. I cannot, will not be bullied like this, leaving me no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause.
Who?
Damn.
That's allegedly, that's Charlie Kirk's, what Charlie Kirk was texting in a group chat to, like, his people, whatever. They're not saying exactly who. That's part of, I guess, Rob McCoy and Josh Hammer and 6 others. I don't know who either of those people are.
So they have
6 others are also in the chat.
What was his nation? Yeah,
So,
yeah.
So the part that they're showing is it's Charlie saying, just lost another huge Jewish donor, $2 million a year because we won't cancel Tucker Carlson. I'm thinking of inviting Candace. I don't really understand that context there. Someone replied, ugh. And then Charlie responded, Jewish donors play into all the stereotypes. I cannot and will not be bullied like this. It's leaving me no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause. Which is like, it's kind of weird. It's kind of like a weird thing to say, actually. But,
Well,
I don't know what he means by bullied. So that's the interesting thing.
Intimidated probably if you want. If you don't want to do this and that. Blackmail. Things like that. They don't have blackmail on him because he's young. So Epstein didn't get blackmail on him. They don't have anyone who has blackmail. Young people aren't really on the radar as much as the older folk. Like Joe Biden, there's a lot of dirt on him. Trump, there's a lot of dirt on him, etc., etc., etc. A young guy, hey, the Mossad will struggle a little bit to find, especially someone like Kirk, who's actually conservative and all that stuff. You're gonna have a hard time saying he has child porn, you know. So the Mossad definitely, like Israel, definitely struggles when it comes to, like, you know. So they pay him or whatever, but then anyways, he has the ability to rebel against them. I feel, and that's what he was a war, accepting their money, but then he decided to flip and they killed him. Beautiful.
Well, it doesn't seem like it's not necessarily he decided to flip. He refused to comply.
Correct.
Basically, they wanted him to, I guess, denounce Tucker Carlson, and he said,
Well, he was complying. He was complying and he was taking their money, and he was. Yeah,
he was trying to get their shekels before the shekel got him.
I'd be interested to look at their tax filings and shit to see like what were they. You know, I know he was like trying to do a legit cause, but what were they doing with all that money? Because I mean, they had a lot of money to throw around.
Yeah,
it's $500 million. I don't like. I'm just curious. Like, what does that actually get spent on?
I don't know. They just give you money to do whatever they want.
I mean, you created an amazing.
You will accept the money.
It worked.
You will accept the money because it's money, and you will accept it. But if you and they make you look good and whatever because they control all other things. Now, if you go against them, they hope you never go against them because they're giving you the money. But if you go against them, they have blackmail. It just so happens that this guy is no longer accepting their money, but they have nothing against him. So then they have to kill him. It just goes without. It's just pretty. It just makes perfect sense. I don't see. Anyways, to my mind, it was obviously the Jews who killed Kirk since the beginning.
They killed Jesus, what makes you think they won't kill his followers?
Yeah, I don't think Kirk was he's a Protestant, but still. They have every reason to. Trump is so stupid, bro. He's being played like crazy by Netanyahu. I respect Netanyahu, bro. I actually respect Netanyahu. Either Trump is so stupid and he's being played, or the guy is really cucked, like hardcore blackmail.
Oh, he's definitely blackmail, dude.
So we need something.
Look at him as first term versus this term. It's pathetic.
You know what? I'm looking forward to J.D. Vance because that guy is also young. So likely they don't have blackmail on him. Hey, let's see. I don't know.
I mean, then why did they try to take out Trump? He's the next guy in line.
Bro, someone needs to deal with all the English guys.
What about Vivek?
You would not. Oh, Trump, let's go.
I don't know. I think whoever took out Kirk also tried to take out Trump.
It's probably the same group. Yeah. I mean, if you're dumb enough to believe that it's the Iranis are trying to. Okay.
I hope they don't do nothing to Sam Shimon.
No, we know. It is. The Jews are all over. It's always all the pointers are towards Israel, bro. It's just very clear. Only those who don't want to see it are. You know.
Look, I'm leaning in a different direction, but it's sort of kind of like you could say is also inherently Israel. I'm still leaning towards like a rogue faction of like the CIA or something, which you could just argue is controlled by Israel. So
I just don't know why you don't want to go there. I don't know why you don't want to go.
I do. I'm not like there's such a mystery and there's so many odd things with this that I don't see it. It's a possibility, sure, but it's not all that clear to me. Because
there's George Zen, who's
I don't put that much weight into the guy as you do.
Zen is a very important guy. So there's George Zen.
But why do you need a decoy for the decoy, dude?
Well, I don't believe that Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk.
Right. So why do you need Zen?
Because you don't want people to pay attention to the actual shooter.
But that's why you have Tyler, whatever the fuck his name is.
No,
not the actual shooter. I don't think he's the shooter either.
That's just the guy we're gonna blame. That doesn't mean anything.
Right. So it's like, if anything, you don't want to like really deviate away from the passing in this case.
No, I'm telling you that there's another shooter that we don't want you to focus on. So we need.
Right.
I don't think Tyler is a decoy. I think Tyler is a scapegoat. Zen is a decoy.
But it's just the purpose that it served is kind of irrelevant, dude. He still would have gotten, quote unquote away, had like 3 cops not thrown him in.
Yeah, bro, let me tell you this whole thing very quick, okay? And please don't interrupt me. The cameras show you where the shooter was. We could have seen the video of him shooting. The FBI didn't release that. What they released is him running without a gun, just FYI. He never had a gun. The gun has always been in the forest. Tyler on the roof, if that's even Tyler, I don't even think it is. That guy on the roof isn't the shooter. Okay, so then there's Zim, who's an Ashkenazi Jew used as a decoy, just like he was in 9/11, just like he was later on with the bombing in 2013. The Jew. And then there's the security team of Kirk, run by a Jew, who have several drones, and they were unable to see anything worthy of an investigation. No one talks about it. Then there's Netanyahu claiming, before we get to Netanyahu, then there's the text between Tyler and his boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever that is, clearly staged. Clearly, very clearly, like I don't believe that text for shit, and they don't even show the whole thing. Okay, I wonder why. And then there's the Netanyahu coming to you with an alleged letter without even showing it to you or any of that stuff, making it seem like what's his name? Kirk is a super big friend to Israel because he has been in the past. But we know in the past 2 months he hasn't. We know that. Okay, so you're coming with a fake letter. You're not even showing it, and you're making such statements. When we've seen him being threatened by what's his name, this Bill Ackman guy. We've seen him be pressured and all of that stuff, and now you're saying we find that there's him saying what he's saying in that group, or chat group, whatever, that he's no longer going to be bullied by Israel and so on. I don't see how it doesn't make sense to you, because Israel is all over it in terms of the security team.
They're all over him inherently. Look, just about everything you're saying, other than the Zen part. That was my position like 2 weeks ago, and you were fighting me on it.
It's not just the Zen part, bro. There's Zen. There's the guy for the security team, Jews, and then there's Netanyahu.
The Netanyahu thing is it's very. That's the thing that was far more than the Zen guy.
Right.
It really makes me
Israel.
feel like,
Offering him a trip to Israel.
Yeah, no.
We know what that means.
It's very bizarre.
Well, no, it's not very bizarre. Everything.
You know what I fucking mean. You know what I mean when I say that.
Every single thing points to Israel. Every single fucking thing points to Israel. It's just that simple. Israel is the only beneficiary. Israel is the only one with motive, and Israel is the only one with opportunity. Hey, I'm sorry. Motive, opportunity. And you're the only beneficiary, not just motive, no. You're the only one with motive. Okay, so, to my mind, it is very clear.
No, they're not the only one with motive. No, that's not true.
Well, they're the only beneficiary.
Also, look, if you any group of it depends on how the aftermath happens. Like, if you think it's something like prior going into it, if killing him somehow divides, the right wing or the far right somehow, then there's plenty of people that benefit.
Okay, bro, I'm not into hypotheticals. The result is benefiting. The only one benefiting is Israel. Who else benefited?
I don't look. There is an argument that Israel benefits. There's also an argument that they don't. So it depends on how you.
No, how don't they benefit? And that's the question: is who else benefited?
I mean, I think it's too early to fucking tell, to be honest.
Bro, come on, man, come on.
I think it's too early to tell.
No, I think it's very clear.
Oh yeah, you think a lot of things are very clear. And then you flip-flop on things.
No, I don't. That's pretty clear. But
you were literally arguing with me a week and a half ago. What do you mean? He's got a gun. It's in his bag. Blah, blah, blah.
No, I don't. It's not in his bag.
That's what you were arguing. It's that he's got a gun.
Bro, I didn't say that.
Hello?
I didn't say that. I said
you got unbanned.
It takes time for you to disassemble the gun.
That's literally what I was
The
saying.
Bitcoin room said you got banned.
Yeah, they did a room in my honor today.
What happened to your account?
He's on the room with you, then you just got...
The moose has got me clipped.
I heard the reporting you.
Yeah, Rico was in the room earlier. That's how it happened.
I told us to report you. I told him don't.
No, he didn't do this.
Shut the fuck up, David. You fucking suck, you.
Anyway, Betas, follow me back so I can.
I hear you are going to handle it. Is that right?
Why did you tell him?
Oh, it's Isles. It's true.
Oh, well, shut the fuck up. Why did he tell me? What's wrong with him?
Why did you tell him, Randy? It was supposed to be you.
It's not me, it's Obadiah.
Yeah, but what's
No, I don't even talk to you. I didn't tell you anything.
Wait, David, you son of a bitch, wait. Wo ist dein Problem, wenn ich das weiß?
Nein, kein Deutsch jetzt. Sie müssen alle verstanden.
She don't understand.
He's fucking English.
Yeah, she don't understand German. It's fucked up.
I don't.
So was it, do you agree with the rabbi that it was Israel that killed Charlie?
It is literally just, how can you not understand what he says? He's asking you if you have a problem with him knowing.
Thank you.
Yes. No.
But that's not what you said. What you said is...
I said no German.
I know what you said, but why
Yeah,
is
you don't understand, so yeah.
Ja,
What's
aber
up about you?
kein Deutsch. Weil die alle verstehen sollen.
She sounds like a refugee.
Yeah, no German.
I sound like a refugee.
That's funny.
But she is a refugee.
Das ist okay.
Never speak German again, please. Make us all a favor.
It's pretty interesting because my German comprehension is even better than French.
Yeah. Oui. Je m'appelle Rabbi. Je ne sais pas.
Elle ne parlait français.
First you put David.
S'il vous plaît.
Tout de suite.
Only good.
Well, only good that you know is your good.
Everything I know is good. Otherwise, I wouldn't know it. I only know goodness.
Isa, who killed Charlie Kirk?
Obviously, the Jews.
Oh my lord.
See?
It's very obvious, bro. You guys are so dumb.
It's just so stupid.
It's so dumb, man.
Yeah, you watch the dice. It's very obvious that everything points to one direction.
Well, Lou doesn't agree with you.
I'm not convinced. We're still not even fucking certain how exactly he was killed, dude.
Yeah, because there's a decoy.
No, I'm talking about like which direction did it come from?
I know exactly which direction it came from. It came from like 4 o'clock. And his bitch is so wild.
Hey, you Jordanian shawarma eating faggot loser. Everything leads to Israel, huh? You are one pathetic, really pathetic, low IQ loser. What kind of a loser goes around calls himself a rabbi? He's a Jordanian shawarma goat-looking faggot. And he's going to sit here and say,
بتاعي هنا في الغرب ولا
The original.
Yeah, she did. Yeah, she did. She did that much, but she was like,
Okay, she's not that. She's
no,
not
she's
that.
not that bad.
No, you thought we were joking. Like,
I'm sorry, AB. We not used to white.
There's some system holding them back and some shit like that. But I just don't.
Yeah, we don't talk about it because we want to preserve our relationships in real life.
Right.
For example, my oldest daughter during COVID, unfortunately, went to one of the best design schools in the world, not just in the United States, in the world. And she came back not with her full degree, but completely indoctrinated. I can't talk to her. I can't talk to her about Charlie Kirk. I can't talk to her about issues related to LGBTQ, or she lives in New York. She loves Mandani. She wants him to be. I can't tell her anything. I can't talk to her. She might not be my daughter anymore if she knew how I felt. That's terrifying. I love her.
Oh.
That's what this is very personal for me. Like, that's what people just don't get. For some of us, it's very personal.
And there's so much fear there. Like, you love your child, and if they knew, like, they will make you a monster. They'll separate themselves from you because they're told
to her other siblings and try to get them to not talk to me either. And I'll be out here with 4 kids who don't talk to me.
And that story,
quiet.
That story, you're not alone. Like, and then, so you're lying by omission to save a relationship, and they don't understand the dangers of communism. They don't understand that socialism ends in death. Like, it's marked in history and people are ignoring it. What do? You love your kid. You don't want them not to talk to you ever. It's terrible. You're not alone, Pink Pill. You're not alone.
And I'm sorry, there's no, listen,
there's so many parents who didn't pay attention to what the public schools and the universities were teaching the children. Like, it's a betrayal of trust. Parents sent their kids to you so that they could have a good life. And instead, you've made them angry, bitter, and afraid. How dare you?
Yeah, I mean, we spent, do you know how much the Fashion Institute of Technology in Manhattan costs? And to have my daughter come back and I don't even recognize her, and all she got was an AA degree and struggling, just living in New York, just believing that everything should be given to her, that I can't talk to her. I love this girl. You guys, what they have done, they made it okay for kids to say, if you don't think the way I do, I don't care if you're my parent, my brother, sister, aunt, or uncle. I don't care if I grew up with you and we were best friends. I will abandon you. I will cease the relationship. I will block and delete you like you never existed. I don't get it. I don't. This is why I hate them. I'm being honest. I hate them. I don't want anything bad to happen to them, but I hate what they do.
I definitely want to speak on this.
Yeah, real quickly, Stephen. I know you've been waiting, but I'm saying it real fast too. Just real fast. If people are not forget or not aware of the woman who killed her father at the beginning of the year when Trump got into office, he got elected. There's a white woman who killed her father to vote for Trump. People don't know that. That's political violence too. She killed her father. You can look the story up. I think the night he got inaugurated. And it's shit like that, to your point, what you're saying, that you don't know how radicalized your family could be to what they're doing. I don't think a lot of us don't believe that's the case, but why risk it? Because all the other shit that's on top, plus that, it's just too much to consider. Go ahead, Steve.
Hey, so I wanted to share my experience with some of my family. My mother and I share very different beliefs. Politically, also with religion, we share very different beliefs. And our relationship has changed over time. And I'm glad to say it's actually a lot better now. And I think the biggest difference from where it was really bad and where it was really good, because now it's pretty decent. We're pretty good friends. And I love her and she loves me and we both want to see each other succeed, is how much we allow each other to accept other beliefs. I think that's an important thing, right? I think if I looked at my mom and I'm like, well, what my mom believes is wrong, well, that would instigate like a really defensive response, and then she would say, well, what you believe is wrong, and then I would, and I'm in the right, and blah, 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 and then it becomes this fight, right? But if you first start with hey, yeah, we have different beliefs, and I could totally be wrong, and I'm happy to share why I believe these things if you're interested. But if you're not interested, that's okay too. We can talk about a variety of other things that are, that celebrate our strengths. I think that a really important another really important piece of why our relationship got better is we looked to each other's strengths. And although I may not agree with my mom on, matters of politics or religion, on finances, she's an incredible, she has an incredibly strong perspective on things like building long-term relationships. She has a lot of strengths. And me diving into what I really respect and the parts of her that I really respect and really want to learn from, and she also does that with me. She looks to my strengths and she learns from me in the parts where I'm strong. That's really helped our relationship. So it's not always about what we disagree on. You know, it's also about, hey, what is this person like inherently good at that I could like really learn from? And those have been some of the things that have improved my relationship with my mom a lot.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I've had to do with just, we talk about everything else but that. She will try to insert some things into the conversation, and I just be silent. You know, it's the best thing for me to do. My thing is that, you know, it's a little bit more complicated. I'm a content creator. There's things I want to say that if I, and I know that if I say them, she probably won't ever talk to me. I hate being held hostage by the situation, and the fact that we live in a society where it's okay to cut people off for the littlest things, when I feel like right now we need people. Kids are so young and impressionable. She's an adult, but she's still really young. I hate the fact that we live in a society where it's being encouraged to abandon the very people who will be there for you if anything went down. I don't care what her political beliefs are. If she needs me, I'm there. And the fact that it's being encouraged for, you know, children to separate from their family members because they disagree on politics, where are they supposed to go? It's not like people are making all these friends. Like, this isolates people and makes them more vulnerable for the government to control them. When you have, your family is your first and last line of defense. And the fact that this is being encouraged, like, well, we'd all be okay without the support of people who love us regardless, that's my problem. And I only see one party doing that. And that is one of the 99 other things that makes me believe that they've become evil.
What party is that, by the way, doing that?
The left.
Democratic Party, particularly the Progressive Socialist Communist Party. That part.
Yeah, like when they on the View recommended people not spend Thanksgiving with their family if you voted for Trump, because of course the election was in November. So they were saying that, yeah, if you voted for Trump, don't spend time with your family. There was also a survey, I'm gonna pull up a study too, that said it asked the question that if you would you have, you know, if you're a liberal, would you have conservative friends? So that's people on the left, would they have conservative friends? They said no. That's people on the right, would they have liberal friends? They say yes, which is it's black and white. The right has more tolerance in general, let alone for people on the left. The left has almost no tolerance, not just for the right, but even for their own fucking party. So if you're on the left like Bill Maher, who's been outcasted, Joe Rogan, RFK, Tulsi Gabbard, these people are still on the left essentially. Yeah, they're with the Republican Party as far as being part of the administration, but they're still left-leaning. Amber Rose, the list goes on. We can go down a road of people, a slew of people who've been outcast or demonized because they have criticized their own party. And that party has no tolerance for dissent. You have to get down or lay down. It's pretty much gangster style over there.
Yeah, from my experience, the people on the left, yeah, I agree. Like they'll just cut you off completely if you disagree with them. But the people on the right, what I find very interesting is even though you guys might vote the same, or you might have the same religious views, if you disagree with something in the religious view, or if you disagree with something in the political party that you both vote for, they'll cut you off just as fast. And that's been my experience.
Hey, just to be clear, I mean, I'm not that it really matters, but I do lean socially left. I think it's important, or I guess the way I see it, is that anyone that's leveraging indoctrination, whether it's left or right, I think that should be just sort of highlighted, right? And I think it would help both sides, no matter where you fall, to know how to identify indoctrination and to know when people are using indoctrination techniques versus what I think would be better alternatives for teaching.
So what are some of the indoctrination techniques that you see?
So
Curious.
I asked ChatGPT. I asked how can you tell if you're being indoctrinated? Which I think is like a really important thing, right? Like I was like, how do you know, right? Like, and they said, okay, one is check the goal. If the goal is to give you tools to think, not what to think, and you're taught methods, ways to evaluate evidence, and competing views. With indoctrination, the goal is to make you adopt a specific conclusion or belief, often without showing you viable alternatives.
So which party do you think right now is doing that?
They both do to some degree.
Can you give us like an example of the left doing it, just so I think it can make more sense.
The left doing indoctrination technique. Oh well, I think saying.
How about trans women or women?
Sure. Yeah, that would be a great example. Their views towards the LGBTQIA community. They believe their opinions are right, and anyone that has different opinions than theirs would be wrong, right? That would be a indoctrination sign, right? And you'd see it on the right with nationalism, right? Anything that's you should be fighting for the United States and the values of the United States, and if you're not, then you're against us, kind of thing.
Well, I mean, okay, can you put it to a policy? So, like, I gave you the example of trans women are women. I can give you another example. White men are the most dangerous threat to America.
Okay.
Who says that?
Some members, it's important to identify that this isn't the entire left that does these things, and it's not the entire right that does these things. I think it's more important to look at the methods used for either side.
So yeah, maybe we should, I get where Pink Bill's going. There's a lot of frustration with us.
Of course.
We've seen what happens when people mispronoun people. And it's ugly, and we can try and find the opposite and equal from the right, coming from the right. Mm-hmm. I think going back to what are the propaganda techniques that you just referenced earlier, like keeping it away from examples, I think that'll help the discourse better, even though I'm right there with you, Pink Pill, and I want to go toe to toe, and I want to say, you don't understand that a couple nights of Jimmy, whatever his name is, off of late night TV doesn't equate to the thousands of conservative, regular people who had their voices silenced on social media because the FBI and the government got involved with Twitter and started canceling people who had diversity of thought.
But see, here's the thing, you're calling people Nazis. You're calling people fascists. You're getting people killed. And it's like, I don't see it on the other side. What I do see is people on the left who wanted to, who had, like, maybe agreed 97.3% with everything that the left was saying, any particular narrative on the left, and then being completely excommunicated. That's what I've seen. What I've seen on the right is, not perfect. I've experienced racist folks on the right, but for the most part, who I engage with, especially on X, it's like a diversity of thought. They're okay if you don't, and they're not calling you names. They may call you dumb or retarded or something like that, but that's like Gen Z talk. I mean, that's Gen X talk, right? I'm Gen X. We would call everybody retarded. Like, that doesn't bother me. What bothers me is when somebody tells me that you must believe this, and I don't want to hear anything else. If you deviate from this, you are a bad person, and you probably should die. We've got this guy, what's his name, Jay Jones, who's running in Virginia. says that he would like his political opponent to have 2 bullets in his head and also get his kids killed because maybe he'll get his personal policies that he wants to get pushed through. I'm only seeing that on that side. I'm just not seeing that on the other side. I am willing to listen if there is something like that on the right that people are trying to push down.
Yeah, let's hear that.
I would really like to hear it.
Yeah, let's hear
There's
it.
not one.
Is there a right equivalent?
Another one is there's a genocide in Palestine, and if you push back on that shit, oh my God, it's World War III.
Sure, and I want to be clear. I think I agree with you in that. I agree with you in that those are terrible methods, right? Those are bad things to do, and they're hurtful methods. But I think it's much more important not to blame the left for the method, but to blame the method itself, because there are people in the right that use hurtful methods, and there are people on the left that use hurtful methods. They both, and I think it's more important to look at the method than the viewpoint. You asked for how the right. I asked ChatGPT how the political right. I asked for examples of both the right and left, how they indoctrinate people. First, the definition of indoctrination that I'm using is information control to limit or distort access to opposing viewpoints. Emotional conditioning, attach moral or identity value to the agreement or disagreement, and social enforcement to reward conformity and to punish deviation. So how the right commonly
can you share that with me? Can you DM me that? That's
sure.
Awesome stuff.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Happy
Thank
to.
you. Is it Stephen or Stefan?
It's Stephen. And so the way that the right does it is through moral absolutism, portrays the world in terms of good and evil, patriots versus traitors, believers versus sinners, suggests questioning tradition is equal to moral decay, and then uses nostalgia, aka a return to greatness, to create emotional safety in conformity. They use fear-based messaging, emphasizing threats such as immigrants, crime, moral decline, globalists, etc. They use fear to justify authority or strong control, aka we must unite behind our leader or we lose our country. Reverence for authority, including religious, military, or national symbols used to sanctify political loyalty. And dissent is framed as disrespect or betrayal rather than civic participation.
And can you maybe just give one example, though? I know these are all the ways they do it, but give us like a real tangible example.
Yeah, I mean, I can put some tangible examples in the chat. I don't want to, I just asked ChatGPT for some broad overviews of how the right has used indoctrination in the past. Yeah, happy to put some direct examples in the chat. But this is something that's used by both sides. This is not just a right thing. This is not just a left thing. I think that if we find ways to communicate our ideas without indoctrination, I think that that's a much better way to go about it, no matter where you are on the political spectrum.
I agree with that. I agree that everybody should be able to identify how and if they are being indoctrinated in things. I'm going to be honest, Stephen, that I don't think that all indoctrination is wrong. And let me give you an example of what I mean by that. I don't think that it's wrong to have children be indoctrinated that the country that they live in, they should be proud of, and that they should love the flag and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I think that they should be loyal to their country. I think that that is indoctrination, and I think that that's good. I think that that protects us. So I don't think that all indoctrination is bad, but if the indoctrination is like antisocial or dangerous or leads to somebody being killed, I don't care either side. I only see the left with polls saying that 37% of progressive liberals think it's perfectly okay for political opponents to be killed. What I see on my X feed is people on the Republican side going to colleges and they're being attacked physically and having to defend themselves. I'm seeing on my scroll Antifa trying to defend criminals and keeping neighborhoods that people who look like me safe, while denying that the people who are being terrorized in these neighborhoods want some kind of safety. I just don't see the right saying, don't believe your lying eyes.
You know why?
And I'm not saying that that has never been the case, though.
You know why?
Because I've been alive long enough to know when the right side was utterly insane. Which is why I feel like I'm in a parallel universe, because I'm looking at the right like, y'all were the Democrats when we were cool. What is happening here?
Hey, quick question, real quick, Stephen. What would you say? What indoctrination do you think is good for kids?
You know, I think indoctrination is really good for like early developmental childhood. When you're like saying, "Hey, you need to look both ways before crossing the street." I think when it comes to matters of life or death safety, understanding stop, drop, and roll, understanding things like when it's okay to pull a fire alarm. I think that is a great time to use indoctrination. I can't think of a single occasion where indoctrination would be good for anyone later stage development and up. I think if you're above the age of 16, I can't think of a single situation where indoctrination is a good thing, because you're now you're able to think critically now. So I think using indoctrination techniques on adults is very powerful. It works. It's used because it works, and it's. I don't think it's the most ethical way to.
And why do you think it works?
Convince people. That's a super deep. I don't.
I think I can answer
people make decisions based on fear. People make decisions based on anger. People make. It goes to like more primal decision making and emotional decision making. That's my guess. That's what my intuition says. I haven't researched it though.
I think it's because children in at least the past 2 generations are not being taught that it's okay to push back on ideas that are being presented to them in the classroom and question. I think the critical thinking, the media, particularly the news, when I was growing up, I was born in 1973, I remember the news. They would tell you something, and they trusted you enough to decide what you should think about it. So you have all of these influences that you have this discouraging of critical thought, which we talked about earlier. I don't know if you were in here. And then you have news media, which should have a responsibility for giving us the most accurate information humanly possible. I think that's what the founding fathers idealistically wanted. But instead, I had to check my own self, because I remember back when I was a Democrat, when something would happen and I would be like, let me go on CNN so I know what to think about this. And I had to stop myself because I knew better. But I also have to think about the millions and millions of other people who don't know better. What do you guys think?
Let me ask you a question. Are you religious by any chance?
I was raised Baptist. I'm not religious. I am spiritual, but I don't, I'm not particularly like, I enjoy church, but, I'm not sitting there clapping like a seal for everything they say.
So, Pink Pill, I've been listening to your political opinions, and it kind of matched mine. I don't think the conservatives are the answer, but I choose them over the type of Democratic Party that's around now. But the Democratic Party can easily be reformed, and one person I ran into is Ezra Klein. Hearing Ezra Klein speak, the first president I ever voted for is Donald Trump, but I want to vote Democrat eventually. And hearing Ezra Klein speak gives me hope for the Democratic Party, but the Democratic Party still hasn't reformed yet. And I think the good thing about Trump's existence is that as long as the Democrats keep losing, I feel like it's going to put them, it's going to give them more incentive to govern in more pragmatic ways. Because I think the issue is that they don't govern pragmatically. Their messaging isn't pragmatic. Nothing about everything for them is procedural and vibes and having like well-meaning values, but putting that on the forefront so much that it makes government inefficient. And then they'll create bills, section off money for bills that sound amazing. The End Poverty Act, or I just learned these I've been asking the Biden people what Biden did that was positive, not as a way to like grill them, but as a, hey, I know my own echo chamber. Like I know that Obama wasn't all bad. I know Trump isn't all bad. There's no way Biden is all bad. They talk about the infrastructure bill. They talk about the CHIPS Act, and then I believe them. And then I started to do research. The infrastructure bill didn't change shit because all of the changes are so procedural that really a lot of the construction doesn't start until 2028. So it's like, it's I just think that the Democrats need to rethink, and there's a few people in the Democratic Party who understand that they need to rethink. What's fucking up the Democratic Party are the people on the left, the leftists. The leftists who just screams over and over and over again that billionaires are bad and that race, like it's just like they don't have any policies to make the world better. They just critique everything and they don't have any solutions.
Hey, that politician that you like, I can't say I forgot his name, but can you describe the policies he supports?
So Ezra Klein, if you just look up Ezra Klein and look at him talking about his book called Abundance.
Well, the one that specifically that you like about him, just curious.
He isn't a politician. He's a reporter at the New York Times. And what I like about what he's saying is, I'm a pragmatist. I'm not I'm not a super partisan person. I will vote for Democrats if I believe that they're better. I will vote for Republican if I think, I'll vote for anybody.
He's just really you like him, but he's not telling you what he's standing on.
No, he's telling you what he's standing on. He works at the New York Times. Yeah, go ahead.
Just name two or three of them. Just two or three. That's it.
Yeah, so he is a New York Times bestseller. He's a reporter for the New York Times. So obviously he's a liberal. He's a liberal. He's a forever blue person, right? But he's a forever blue person that understands what the Democratic Party is doing wrong.
I get it. What you're describing him as a pretty cool person. What I'm asking for is, has he put his neck out on the line for any particular issue?
Yes. So let me tell you what issue he talked about. So before the 2024 presidential campaign, about 2.5 years before it even happened, he was criticizing the Democratic Party openly because he wanted them to have open primaries. He kept telling the Democratic Party that if you guys keep Joe Biden as a nominee, you're going to lose. If you wait too long, you're going to lose. So that was one. In terms of like him in the environment, he's also pretty big on the environment. He's I know this is a buzzword, you call him a classical liberal. He's a moderate. To me, he's a moderate, pragmatic liberal.
I think, and I don't know if you agree with this, but I think the big issue is people vote for people who they just like, but they're not like very well informed of the actual policies and how those policies affect things. They're more like personality and character.
Yeah, but Ezra isn't a politician. So like if you're looking for an exact
Trump wasn't a politician either, but when he stepped out, he made it very clear. He put a line in the sand and said, "Hey, this is what I'm supporting, and this is what I'm gonna do." Blah blah blah.
I'm not saying Ezra's name as a way to say this is the future of the Democratic Party. Hell no. I'm not saying that. Even though if he was, I would vote for him. I'm saying that I don't want to give up on the Democratic Party, or I don't want to fully just be like, okay, Republicans are the answer.
Bless you, Oni.
Because thank you. I don't want to just say Republicans are the answer because there's something emerging from the Democrats that is seeming a little bit self-aware, but they're not there yet,
I think the American Party is our only hope.
The what party?
Elon Musk's party, the American Party.
Yeah. That ain't gonna happen.
That's hilarious.
Listen, real quick, I know some of you guys hopped in. I want to ask Steven. Steven, you still there?
Yes, yeah, I am.
Yeah, hey, a long time since we spoke to. Good to see you. I don't even know if you remember, but I remember it.
Yeah.
I was gonna. Okay, yeah. I was gonna ask you, as far as the space, since you're left leaning, how did you take the reaction to Charlie Kirk's death from the left? Not just your specific view. Well, I guess both. How did you view it, and how did you see your party doing it? Like, do you align with the general sentiment, or at least the sentiment of them celebrating it? How did you view that?
My general view is that I celebrate the ability to speak freely about subjects that I personally disagree with. I prioritize freedom of speech over someone that disagrees with me in every instance. I think that's where freedom of speech matters. It matters when you disagree with it. Otherwise, it wouldn't matter. You wouldn't need freedom of speech. I obviously think it's a tragedy that he was shot for his beliefs and for welcoming discourse and welcoming open communication between both sides, even if I disagree with a lot of his political beliefs. When I saw I noticed that, at least from what I saw, the vast majority of left-leaning people agreed with me. And it seemed like anyone that had radical viewpoints around this, their voices were amplified, because I believe that would cause the most ratings, that would cause the most views, that would cause the most, the things that news media outlets are measured on. That's what would get the intended results for both sides.
I'm curious, Stephen, what you said there's a lot of things you disagreed with Charlie Kirk on. Can you just maybe name one?
Well, before we I want to finish this really quickly. Yeah, that's one. Yeah, really quickly. You guys get that. I just want to go down the road to your point. You said so. There's not a. Well, let me ask you just to be clear. Do you feel there's a comparable stance between the right and the left when they view violence and how violence is enacted on their opponents?
I can't stress this enough. It really should never be looked at as a right versus left thing. It really shouldn't. It needs to be looked at as there's radicalism, and that radicalism needs to be addressed. It doesn't matter whether they're Republican or Democrat or Islamic or Christian or atheist. It does not matter. What matters is radicalism. right?
Go ahead.
And putting blame and blaming the left or blaming the right or blaming the fucking, it's not going to help anyone ever, right? It's just understanding how this process happened. You treat it like a plane crash, right? It's you don't, when a plane crashes, you don't look at like, well, was the pilot a Democrat or a Republican? No, it doesn't matter.
It's a very odd analogy.
Yeah, that's a perfect analogy.
We might look to see how much training, how much competence they have.
Now we're talking, right? We analyze the crash. We say, hey, how did we get here? How did we get here? What failed, right?
I agree with that part.
And we look at the process of how we went from like we were on track to how did this plane get off track and how did this plane crash? And now once we understand how this plane crashed, how do we make it so future planes don't crash this way ever again? Right?
How do you account for pattern recognition?
Right.
We're not stupid. We understand that there's a pattern of violence in our nation, and to blame it all on white men is reductive and wrong. Statistically verifiable.
It should not be blamed on white men, for sure. But in the same way, we shouldn't look at it and say, well, Democrats are the problem, right? It's making the same mistake than saying
it's not.
Is the same.
Let me here's the reason. Like some people. One second. Wait.
You have to yield to the mods.
Yeah, the reason why it's a problem, because as you said, Steph, it's not just isolated in the incident, which I agree, right? If car accidents happens, plane crash happens, violence happens. We're talking about the culture around the violence, right? So if a group support this particular thing, so I want to make an analogy, but I don't want to make this longer than it has to be. If a culture is supporting certain activity, then you do blame that group or culture for that. And right now, the leftists do tend to have a violent culture. It's not just isolated in this assassination, because as you stated, the question was, how did we get here? I believe a lot of us saw us getting here a long time ago when we saw one Trump being attempted to be assassinated several times. Brett Kavanaugh, the rise and whatnot. So there's a litany, and not just the things that are happening, but how people are treated. So when the responses say it's mostly peaceful, or you're undermining the actual violence, not reporting on it, etc., this creates a culture to where violence can prosper, can be more abundant. And now we have it escalate to the point where someone actually died, which someone could have died before, again, Trump and several other people. So what I'm saying is that the way we respond to this speaks more volumes than what happens, because we can't control individuals, but we can control how we treat this situation. And for one group to say that it's okay and to call for more of it, I think that is indicative of that side. And lastly, I'll say on this, not enough of that side is checking their side to say we should do this, because when the Aryan Brotherhood or far-right extremists or alt-right does their things, there's a plenty of the right to say we don't own that shit, we don't condone violence or racism, etc. So I'm just saying that there's a clear distinction between the left and the right when it comes to this particular issue.
Yeah, but can I quickly say this? This is why I disagree with you, to be honest, because there's actually no evidence or proof that, even with the Charlie Kirk assassination, that it was actually a left-wing guy. Tyler.
We're not doing that. But
time out. Let me just give my opinion, because this is a fact. There's actually no evidence.
It's not a fact.
Of the guy. Hold on, time out. If you're trying to provide me a fake text message that the FBI gave to the public to show.
I'm not talking about that.
Tyler Robinson was not a left wing. His family was a conservative. They've been conservative.
His family, not him, sir. My family is Christian. I'm not. That doesn't make sense. And they're left wing, and I'm not.
But he's not left wing, and there is no proof that he hated.
Faceless. You're ignoring the fact that other people can believe different things and it has nothing to do with their personal beliefs. That doesn't make sense. I share no beliefs of my family.
Is there evidence that he was left wing?
Because he killed a right-wing person. That's one thing. Yes, I was gonna name a litany of things. He had on a bullet Antifa, what's the word? Propaganda shit.
Can I finger in the air, please? Can we just sidestep the conversation? Because if a person needs to be convinced that the mainstream information suggests that the shooter is left wing and not right wing, then they're not in a place to be convinced. If you If you need to be convinced at this point in time that there's ample evidence that shows that this person was left wing, then why even talk to them?
It's hopeless at that point.
Yeah,
I agree. But back to you, Stephen. If you took in what I said, and I'm really curious. And by the way, too, this you should know me. I'm not trying to believe it now. Like that, you don't feel comfortable with this stuff. Let me know.
I don't feel believe at all.
Okay, cool. So I just want to be sincerely. Yeah. But go ahead if you want to respond to what I said, please.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be a broken record. I mean, I think it's pretty clear. I think it's we improve as a country when we attack the wrongdoings, right? And we degrade as a country when we look at a problem and we say it's the left or it's the right or it's the blacks or it's the whites or it's the men or it's the women or it's the Christians or it's the atheists. I think our country gets a little bit worse when we do that, and it gets a little bit better when we say, hey,
let me cut you off here. Let me ask you something. But what if that is the case, though? What if that is the case that this group is? Well, so let me ask you then. The next question is, how did we get here to where not that what happened, but that the side that it happened on, well, the side because he's left leaning. Well, how did that side appropriate it? Like the right didn't celebrate it. Like the right did not celebrate Charlie Kirk getting shot, and even the alt-right or far-right people did not celebrate it. There was a specific demographic. You always say you don't think the left celebrated Charlie Kirk getting killed?
No, I don't.
Really?
I really don't. And I think that it's very easy to take a very, very, very small minority and say this is what the left is saying.
But you can do that with the right. Is the point? You can do that with the right.
You can do that with any side. You can do that with any race.
You cannot do that with the right. You cannot do that with the right. And I'm not trying to do this. I'm telling you, the reason why you don't see it on right because it almost doesn't exist at all. Like when the lady in Minnesota, the congressman or whatever got assassinated, we didn't celebrate that. And the lies they keep saying about Trayvon Martin and George Floyd, people not making fun of them because they died. They made fun of them in abundance. They made fun of them because the left was propping them up as like these good, outstanding citizens, which is still wrong. But it's not. It's not.
Wait a minute. I'm not making that accusation.
I feel like you're like I got the right to vote when I turned 18 in 2016, and the first person I voted for is Donald J. Trump. My country, I love my country. You know what I'm saying? What? I'm just saying. I think you're being a little bit unfair right now, Free. Like, you can't say, hey, we did it too, but when we did it, it was for these reasons, and it's not the same.
No. Like, for the people, actually, no. The point I'm making is for the people he's talking about, that actually happens right. Is a fringe minority that does it. The right doesn't stand by people making fun of George Floyd or dead people in general. And when they do it, it's not for the same reason. Making fun of someone that is dead and making fun of someone because they died is two different things. That's not the same.
Yeah, I know, but the right has done it. I think both. So this is my thing. I completely agree with Stefan. What he's saying is completely correct. And it seems like what we care more about is finding a perpetrator.
No, I care more about fixing a problem. No. That is the solution. The solution is to check your people, sir. Check your side. Your side is getting out of hand, and they are calling for more of this. And you're saying it's fringe, but it's not. Today, like when people just in here, a guy named Jay Jones just called for the assassination of his political opponent. He's a politician.
Yeah.
This is insane.
And listen, in another parallel universe, he would have been booted off the ticket. They're still supporting him. This is in Virginia.
And we have too many examples of this, and you guys are ignoring this. Yeah, you guys are doing. This is what we say. This is the problem, man. I'm sorry for being, emotionally around about it. But the point is, we have too many examples for you guys just to knock it off and say, well, just a fringe. No, it's not. This has become normal amongst the left. This is the left now. This is where we are, and it's getting worse. And I'm saying you have to start pretty much checking your side, because we're trying to do it, but they won't listen to us. Check your side to say, hey, this is too far. And my question is, how far is too far? How many of the left have to do this before we say, hey, that's the left? How many more? What percentage?
Actually, I brought up Ezra Klein. The way that I rediscovered Ezra Klein from last year is Ezra Klein was having a debate with Ta-Nehisi Coates. And Ezra Klein, the Forever Blue Democrat, wrote an article 12 hours after Charlie Kirk's death saying that Charlie Kirk did politics right, and his politics and his death was a tragedy, and it's bad for every single American that Charlie Kirk was assassinated. He was Klein on YouTube, Charlie Kirk article. Every single person on his side, every single person, I mean just the loudest people, are hanging him upside down and hitting him.
Are they leftists?
What do you mean? Some of them are leftists, some of them aren't. A lot of them.
No. See, again, you've been dishonest. What people on the right or indifferent are hanging him? Because you know it's the left.
I know. I'm saying that there are Democrats who are calling out the thing that happened with Charlie Kirk.
No, I get that. That's not the issue. We know that's happening. We know it's just not happening enough. We get it. I know that Democrats don't line with that. I think you're changing the discussion now.
I'm saying the people who think that, which I think it's a silent. You know what a silent majority is?
I know what you're saying. Yes, we get it. No, I get it. I know most people are. Listen, I said most leftists have an issue with him. Yeah, most leftists probably agree with Stephen and a lot of us. The problem is there's a growing minority. I said most. If that's what you're saying.
Because there's a difference between a leftist and a Democrat.
Gotcha. Okay, fair enough. Most Democrats. When I say left, I'm talking all of the left. So that's everybody. That's what I'm saying. But what I'm saying too. Yeah, I'm saying there's a growing minority that is a problem, and they're getting out of hand, and just keep growing. But go ahead.
Okay. This comes from my question of how can you tell if you're being indoctrinated? And number 7 is look for black and white worldviews. Are you taught that everything is clear cut, aka we're good and they're bad? I think that exact thing is Free is doing right now.
You think I'm saying I'm talking about a specific issue, sir. I'm not. This is relegated to one specific issue. That one side is okay with political violence more than the other. It's not saying that we don't have any issues. It's not saying you guys are 100% wrong. I'm saying on this particular issue, and I believe that this changed conversation to make it more decisive. I don't think you're trying to do that on purpose. This is not a fallacy here. What I'm trying to say, this is a black and white issue. Right now, we have too much of something, enough evidence for what I'm claiming that too much of your side is okay with this. That's what I'm saying. I don't know how you disagree with that.
I'm not.
You just said you're a leftist socialist, right? You said that.
I'm registered as I'm an independent. Okay, to be.
Okay.
And also,
regardless of what you're registered in, you identify as
conservative. There are things that I totally agree with on the right, and things that I totally agree with on the left.
I'll take back your side. Let's just say left.
On social issues, I'm probably more left than I am right.
Okay, that's fine.
For instance, I don't believe that women or trans people should be in sports. I don't think that, or should be in women's sports. I don't believe that should be a thing.
Okay, fair enough. I got you. I said I'll take it back because I don't want to get lost in the sauce. I want to stick to this. We see one group performing a certain way, and they are emboldened to do so. They're not shameful. They don't care. They're doubling down on this idea. And worse than that, they're trying to justify by misrepresenting his arguments by saying that he said black people are not competent and all this other crap they claim he said, which he didn't say, or he at least said it way out of context, which is not the same thing. Meaning, they misrepresent him. The point is that I'm addressing the fact that the left, as this poll showed that Pink Pill addressed a second ago, which you can look it up, I think it's like 38% of the left think it's okay to assassinate your political opponent. And we see tons of incidents of the left doing this. Like there's people being hunted down and killed because they're Trump supporters. Okay? Hunted down, literally. When you go to rallies, and I tell the left to do this too. Anybody, matter of fact, not even left, anybody. If you really want to test this theory, just go to any of those spaces where there's a ICE rally or something, and whatever. Matter of fact, let me take all that back. Take all that back because that's too dangerous. Let me just say this: for the fact the majority of us who supported Trump and voted for him, we can't go out in public wearing anything that shows that we're conservative or right leaning. We can't wear a MAGA hat. We can't wear what's the elephant. We can't do none of that shit. The reason being because there's a chance that our car gets
We can't even hold the flag. We can't even have a flag.
Yeah, we can't even hold the American flag. Yeah, and so that speaks volumes to know that this is a identifier to be attacked. Okay, I drive around and I see people with their Tim Moss and their Biden shirts, Biden stickers on their car, and they do it comfortably because they're not facing the same threat as the people on the right. This is, how many examples we have to give that one side is more okay with promoting violence, performing violence than the other side. So you're gaslighting me by saying this is not the case. I'm trying to go ahead. Yeah, no, I'm right. Yeah.
I want to speak after you, Stephen. Okay.
Okay.
Then I want to go on. I'm going to go on mute too. Go ahead. Yeah, I know.
This is so important. What I'm going to say, I believe to my core. Okay. That assigning a trait to a group is wrong, okay? And assigning it to the entire group is wrong. It is. I believe that is the definition of prejudice, is to assign a trait to an entire group of people. I think it is wrong to look at the incarceration rate of black people and to say, well, black people are obviously the problem. That it's wrong to believe that. You need to look at the crimes that individuals committed and say it was wrong for that individual to commit that crime. It is wrong to make the conclusion that because more black people are disproportionately incarcerated for crimes, that black people are the problem. That is a wrong thing. It's not right. That is where racism comes from. You have to judge each individual on the content of their character, and not look at what group they're a part of and make assumptions about that group.
Well, let me ask you this: how do you assess and measure crime statistics by categories? How do you do that then?
Yeah, Monica was next.
Okay, so if there's a bank, and I'm going to be ridiculous with this, but I think it's good to add a little levity to this conversation because it's a difficult conversation. A bank is robbed. The description of the perpetrators are 4-foot, red-headed, green-wearing men. When the police put an all-points bulletin out for 4-foot, red-headed, green-wearing men, they will not be stopping any 6-foot black Americans. They won't, because the suspect doesn't match the description. There's a difference between racial profiling and profiling. And if we look at the data, we can have a conversation that our judicial system is broken. We can have a conversation that approximately 6% of the men or the people currently incarcerated are not guilty for the crime that they're incarcerated for. Look at P. Diddy. But what we shouldn't do is ignore facts and data because we're afraid that we'll be labeled a bigot. If there's a problem in a culture, denying that culture has a problem is not doing any of us any favors. Go ahead, Mother.
Yeah, so it was interesting because, when we talked about the U.S. justice system, essentially it's a class-based system, right? People with better access to better attorneys generally can get off on lesser charges. And nobody talks about, that is a huge part of the rates that who gets sent to prison and who doesn't. We just like to gloss over that fact and pretend like our system is fair and balanced. And how people of color generally get harsher sentences than white people that commit those same crimes. That is well known and well documented. I don't need to go down that rabbit hole. But what I actually wanted to say was back up real quick. I was surprised, when you all talk about you can't wear your MAGA hats and you can't. I walk down the street every day and there's people wearing MAGA hats and flying Trump flags. Maybe it's because I live in Florida, which is a very Republican state, but no, they're not getting assaulted. Literally, people in my gym are wearing MAGA hats and wearing pro-Trump stuff, and people were wearing their Kamala stuff. I don't know where y'all live, but most of the country is not like this, where you can't state your opinion on things. Okay, that makes sense. I live in California. The rest of the country is not like this. It is not. Even when I was in Illinois, people would wear the Republican stuff, and they're not getting jumped. What are we talking about?
In Maryland and D.C., you should not wear any MAGA attire.
Right. So clearly,
Just a programming note, just a moderator's note. This is Serendipity's room, and Katie and I help her. We have some guidelines for the mods. If you move down anyone, you need to tell us. And please don't remove anyone, because I don't know
was going to ask, somebody really got removed, a person named Soul, but I didn't remove them. They would stay there, somebody didn't catch it, but they removed before I could catch it. So that's Steve.
Sounds good.
Oh, you did? Okay, gotcha, okay. Yeah, so I'm bent on this because I think this is one of those things, kind of like the transition, where it's like this elephant in the room. Certain things are what they are. The question becomes, how do you deem a group to be a thing, whether they be a peaceful group, a violent group, charitable group, etc. And Stephen, to you, would you consider, let's say, I don't know, the Bloods and Crips a violent gang?
Yes.
Okay. What would you consider them a violent gang?
Because when we interview murderers, many of them contribute their actions to the works of that gang.
Okay, fair enough. So, if we have plenty of interviews with people on any group supporting violence and calling for it, would it be fair to call that those people violent in the group they're affiliated with? Especially if they don't have
Who actually asks them to kill?
Hold on. You didn't say that for the, you just said for the Bloods and Crips, like they may not necessarily call anybody to do some things, but they may put them there with the gang. I'm pretty sure they do, but even if they didn't, they would still be considered violent, right? Because the gang would still do that regardless of being called.
No.
So if you disrespect, that's not true, you don't think. So if I disrespect the Blood, you don't think you would kill me, regardless of the gang calling for it?
Free. If you're part of anything and you get angry at somebody, you kill them. It's not, it's not the fault of whatever thing that you were part of,
Agree. Yeah.
If that thing is telling you, you better do this or you'll kill your family, that as in gang violence, this is a thing that's done. It's a different story, right? So that's
What makes it different? Go ahead. What makes it the same is that they're doing violence because they support and think violence is a reasonable option to get their agenda across. That's the commonality between the gangs and the left, especially in recent history. The left is saying that violence is an option, and we're willing to use it to get our political point across. That's what they're saying. Orthodoxy is a thing on the left. That's violence.
The left is not saying that.
The left is literally saying that.
There are
Not only, okay,
members.
we gotta be impeccable with our speech, and we probably should open up the stage. There's a lot of voices that we haven't heard from in a while, like Daphne, I know is chomping at the bit. I see you, Daphne. I see you. And then, so I don't really want to set up a cue letter, but probably, but let me just get this out. We have the data, so people are very comfortable openly saying in their survey, yeah, I think political violence is okay sometimes. And that message is coming from the left, a very small, if any part of it is coming from the right. Jordan Peterson had a fantastic question. We know when the right goes too far. The right goes too far when it's looking for a white ethno-nationalist state. That's too far. That's racist. We don't like that. When does the left go too far, Stephen? Can you point it out and tell us, aside from the transgender stuff?
Yeah, vegetarian spending, goes too far or anything.
I'm talking about political violence.
I think Daphne's.
Okay.
So you can't blame all leftists for what some leftists do. However, you can blame all leftists if they pay money for the violence. So I just posted a link of the college that Donald Trump goes to.
afraid to speak, and you're just saying, well, we just need to say it's okay to say that America is violent. I don't think that's acceptable.
No, that
And you shouldn't either.
That was
But I
not
can't
my.
tell you what to do.
But that was not my. So my position is that this country had with this conversation that is going on right now, they're trying to say the left is much more aggressive and violent than the right, and they are doing all these horrendous things and propagating additional violence. And my position is that this country has a history, a very long history of political violence, and that it is not any different than what it has been over the last couple centuries. I'm not saying I'm a fan of political violence or that I want it to continue or that we shouldn't do the same. But what I'm saying is that what is going on right now is not inconsistent with what America's standard operating process is. So I don't get what the whole play is.
What did say?
I think.
Yeah, this is insane.
Well, I think what you just said made it worse because I think your initial statement wasn't even really that bad. But I think that violence is actually a form of politics. It's just not a form of politics that is sustainable for a civilized society, not the type of society that we're used to. And I think that there are certain elements that want some type of modern civil war. And you even hear it on this app. Some people want to watch the world burn. And when I listen to them, they never talk about winning. They just talk about revenge. And I feel like they use their politics as emotional, like a stress ball. Like it's just this thing to get revenge with. And it's like, dude, you're gonna destroy shit. It's sad, and I think that the vast majority of Americans don't want political violence, but political violence is a recurring theme. I think that in our contemporary time, what happened to Charlie Kirk is an escalation of political violence we haven't seen. Like, it's one thing for a person who works in government to be assassinated. It's another thing for a person who doesn't work in government but is politically adjacent to being assassinated. Now, and the fact that we can even say he was assassinated and he didn't even work in government is a big deal to me. So this isn't good for either side. I don't think it makes anyone afraid. I think it makes people angry, and it makes people want to look for somebody to blame. And this is only going to make the tribalism, the factionalism, every single thing that the founding fathers wanted to prevent in the United States is going to exacerbate it even more.
I think there's a difference between saying behavior X tends to be committed by whatever group versus whatever group tends to commit behavior X. Meaning, like, even if every case of whatever type of murder is committed by a certain group, doesn't mean that people in that group are likely to commit that. Maybe most people aren't likely to do that. So, and I think, but I don't really know how you get to figure out what's going on. Is this behavior being committed because this idea has permeated the group, and the group tends to have some sort of belief that fosters this behavior, that makes this behavior more likely. So, but I think that it's important, the distinction between the two.
I don't even think that, like, the whole entire conversation.
Can I give an example? Like, here's one that is very clear, and it has nothing to do with politics, but you and I both know this is true. In America, black women are the most likely to have children outside of wedlock. We have the highest rates. It does not mean that every single black woman has a baby out of wedlock. It just means that she belongs to the cohort that has the most amount of people. And then if you look at a black woman, it is not prejudice to say she belongs to the group that has the highest out of wedlock rate. It doesn't mean that she does, though. It just means that that's true.
Right, the problem is seeing a black woman assuming that she probably has a kid out of wedlock. That's where the problem is.
Yeah, I can see that. But what I'm saying is, when we're saying these types of ideals, the way in which the language is being used, calling everybody fascists and Nazis to very fragile young people
my thing. It's like the way that they speak, they feel like by calling the people that they disagree with politically the worst in the book, that signifies how serious things are. It's like, I think it's just bad discourse for the country, because if you tell people that this person is a fascist dictator, Mussolini, Hitler, Aryan baby, if you tell them that, then and if they truly believe it, then the people who support the fascist Hitlerian figure are also bad. Like, if I believe that that would be true, and they would not even. Why would do you think that I would go to Nazi Germany if I took a time machine? Would I go to Nazi Germany and have a conversation with a brown coat or brown shirt? No, I wouldn't. What's the point of having a conversation with a fascist? You don't have conversations with fascists. You don't exchange ideas with fascists. Actually, to converse with a fascist is actually dangerous. That's what language means. So,
Agreed.
So that's why.
Hold on. Let me get this. Haven't we had a discussion about Jordan Peterson recommending the book Ordinary Men, where it talks about how good people were groomed to do terrible things? The police were told, you're free to go, but this job needs to be done, and they felt they couldn't leave their friends in arms to march the naked pregnant women out into the field and kill them. So, like, I don't. What I'm saying is the line dividing evil cuts to the heart of every human, so Janitzin should be remembered. And also, still going back to what MG and Pink Pill and Free have been trying to tell us, like this whole room, Mother, you know that people, it was a vocal minority, but so was the vocal minority who objected to Sydney Sweeney wearing American Eagle jeans. And they got amplified, and I didn't see a lot of people from the left saying, wait a minute, this is a little excessive, y'all. Y'all okay? The white girl can wear her breeches, or no? So if you, this is what I'd like for you guys to do. If you see leaders on the left condemning political violence, share that. Share the heck out of that. We want to see that. We actually want to be wrong about this. But the track record, as in the COVID lockdowns, as in the Russian collusion delusion, as in the number of conspiracy theories that the left has foisted upon us that the right was suspicious of, and then we turned out to be correct. Like, that's it. Show us where the good people are on the left, and we can recognize them, and we'd be grateful to. Who wanted to talk?
I want to hop in real quickly. Sure. Yeah. Okay, we were Steven. Okay, the point is, we had a copycat of Charlie Kirk Killer at the ICE building. The guy literally looked at the schematics of what Tyler Robinson did, and he shot up the ICE vehicle. He killed, I think, two or three immigrants, and he was trying to kill ICE agents based on his motive. So the point is, we literally see the outcome of this. That you're undermining what the fuck we're seeing. People are trying to do what they think is, and this is the biggest thing about the celebration. When we celebrate things, we call for more, whether it's a music, event, whatever the case may be. You're celebrating the assassination of a political opponent, someone who's in the opposite position of you. So therefore, you provoke this copycat situation. So that guy did it, and the question becomes, which I'm sincerely concerned about, we're likely being targeted because you're telling your side that more of this is good. So it's not just okay, it's actually good. You need to kill Nazis and fascists. You need to kill people who are trying to take your rights away, etc. That's the problem. If you just killed me, your side say, hey, we don't do it like this. And of course, some did. Of course, we know there's plenty of leftists who came out and condemned it. Joe Biden, Al Sharpton, the list goes on. But it's just not enough. It's too many. And actually, when you look at this, and I'll end on this, you see there's a gap between the generations. The older liberals, the leftists, they understand this is not how we should do shit. This is fucked up. So these adopting their fucking ideology. So again, this is in line with what we're saying. The problem with celebrating and approving assassinations, you're gonna get more of it.
Right. I think although most leftists aren't violent murderers, if the idea that wars are violence, for example, are being spread by the leftists, being encouraged, and they're backing that idea, those lead to then the handful that are actually going to do something. So we need to find and push back against those ideas that are leading to the horrible incidents.
Hey, this is candidate John. I'd like to be put in the queue.
Oh, you can go ahead now.
Yeah, I'd like to request 60 seconds to read a poem.
Please don't.
We're having a really good discussion.
I'm going to put that on pause for just a little bit. We'll let you know, candidate.
Damn, well, they already told you no, but you know what they say, it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission.
I don't know why, Oni, you're encouraging stage people to ignore moderation. Weren't you interested?
I was about to say something after. I was about to say something to Tip.
I crushed your joke, sorry.
So, like, my thing is, I don't think that whatever momentum, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. I'm kind of an accelerationist. It's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. I'm kind of an acceleration when it comes to that, so I'm kind of dumb
So
with
here's
that.
the thing. So you want it to like hurry up and get over with, right?
It's not that I want. Want is a very particular word. It's not that I want. I want $1 million and for world's hunger to be over. You know what I mean? It's not about what I want. People want a race war. They want to fight. There's a lot of.
That's not true. What are you
false.
doing?
There's a lot of people.
Go ahead. I'll reply. Go ahead.
I think that there's a lot of people who don't want it, but there's a lot of people who do want it, and I think a lot of people want it, and a lot of people, history repeats itself. That's just what I think. I think a lot of people like political violence. I think
You're repeating yourself
like
now,
violence against people that they believe that is deserved, and a lot of people feel like people on the right deserve violence, even if they're not going to be the ones who do it.
A race war and political.
Okay, hold on. So Oni joined the room saying the Democrat Party can be reformed. We can bring them back. I like Ezra Levine.
Ezra Klein.
Ezra Levine is my kind of Ezra. All right. And then now he's like, I'm an accelerationist. Burn it down, and so we can rebuild in the rubble. Which one is it?
Well, that's actually more anarchist than anything else, but go ahead.
I don't.
Not too much on anarchy, Joe.
I think you want me to fit into left-right paradigm, and I don't think
I'm asking you to be logically consistent.
No, but me having.
You're talking about renovation or demolition? That's what I wanted to know.
I'm saying that I see some hope that there can be renovation, but that requires a lot of accountability that still the majority of the Democratic establishment doesn't want to grapple with right now. And I was just sharing that for the first time I've seen a modern day person on the left that is saying exactly what I'm thinking. Not a little bit of what I'm thinking, exactly what I'm thinking. And if that ideology could be focused on, I prefer them over Trump in my opinion. But the likelihood of people on the left reforming their party is low unless they keep losing elections. Even if they do keep losing elections, it doesn't mean that they have to change because we live in a two-party system. What I'm saying is the political momentum that is at play after Charlie Kirk is shot in the neck in front of his wife and children for his political opinions, that's not going away. That energy doesn't go. I believe in the horseshoe effect. That energy doesn't go away. There's going to be retaliation, then another retaliation to that, then another one, all right? So I'm saying that things look like they're going to get worse before they get better. Political violence is the way of the world. No one's controlling it.
May I subject your comments?
Oh, okay. Serendipity, check the telegram.
First question is to the title of the room. What's the anti-USA propaganda? So are you saying that the children or that did have hand tie, that have zip ties on didn't happen? I'm just trying to understand the context.
I'm saying that the media portrayed the story to be one way, very clearly, and that when you went digging and looking for evidence of that, you couldn't find it, and then people that live there actually went and did tours of that building, which had been foreclosed on, was currently owned by the bank, and supposed to be 100% unoccupied because they were going to renovate it before they resold it. And Venezuelan gang members ended up squatting in that building. And that is what that effort was targeted at, was the squatters of said building, where children were taken and detained because of illegal parent. But on top of their illegal immigration status, there was drug paraphernalia and all kinds of other things confiscated during that raid. And yes, I was horrified at the thought of children being drugged from their beds in some random apartment complex that was targeted because they believed that Venezuelan drug lords were highly part of that. But that wasn't the situation at all. And there are no videos of children in hand ties, and all of the videos that have surfaced of all of the footage of the people with their cell phones, they don't have any videos of children in hand ties. So did it happen? I don't know. I don't feel like it's been validated or substantiated. The one video of the baby in the hand tie is actually a video of a police officer chasing after his toddler and pretending to arrest him.
What? So is that to say? Because I did pull up a couple articles that had similar accounts from individual. I think she was African American, U.S. citizen that was woken, living there legally
Not legally. She was squatting. Not legally. She was not there legally. There was no landlord for that premises right now.
So it was so she was a U.S. citizen.
She was.
But she was living rent-free.
Yes, she was detained until she could verify.
She was
her
detained?
citizenship. Yes, that is true.
She was detained.
Yeah, I'm not sick. I'm not in Chicago. I didn't take a tour of this building. We know that there's both sides of the conservative media and the left-leaning media will present a narrative of allegedly the same events that happened that are, with little dashes of hyperbole here and there, but it did. So wait, so is that to say? So let's say there were, to your point, U.S. citizens that were squatting.
Yes.
So is that to say, or at least you're saying you haven't seen any video to substantiate, or
correct,
that there were actually children in zip ties? Because you're definitely agreeing that they were like definitely ousted out of their beds like they were going after El Chapo at 3 a.m. kind of thing, right?
Yes, they absolutely were. They absolutely were, and they were detained in vans until legal guardians could come and take them. Yes, absolutely.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, because it's.
Do you find something wrong with that, though? Do you find something wrong with that?
Wrong with what? With which part? There's different.
The raid on the building. Do you find something wrong with ICE executing U.S. law and removing people? Do you find something wrong with that?
Removing the known Venezuelan gang members? No. Nothing wrong with that at all. However, this was not a surgical procedure, Joe. So while the folks who were U.S. citizens that were squatting are technically, they're living rent free, they are not, that is handled by the sheriff's office, not ICE.
What happened to them?
Sorry, Joe, I don't think I interrupted you, so I can just finish things.
You've been hogging them
I
like
didn't
for a long
interrupt you,
time.
Joe.
You've been hogging them like a long time.
No, he really
Wow.
he hasn't.
Are you okay?
He hasn't.
35 seconds.
I specifically asked for his
Aggressive
thoughts.
room. Aggressive. Wow.
I specifically asked for his thoughts because I wanted to hear them.
I do have 2 questions about the raid when there's room.
Yeah, I'm just going to say to Joe's point, to answer your question, do I think the way that if they're going after, if that was a building just filled with Venezuelan gang members, have at it. Have at it. Sure, I'm all for it. Absolutely. However, they clearly didn't do enough intel to realize that it wasn't just drug gang lords. There were people living there, albeit free, which I know is a no-no to squat, but if you're U.S. citizens and you're being treated as Venezuelan gang lords versus the standard law, I believe, in most cities and states, the sheriff does the eviction for that sort of thing, if you're squatting. But I'll yield the mic. Thank you.
Yeah, the presumption was that it was one African-American lady that was squatting there. The rest of them were related to the Venezuelan gang.
And I find it interesting that you're not able to call squatting a crime.
Alright. My 2 questions are really quick. I understood
Maybe
that
you didn't hear me clearly. You didn't hear me. I said it is a crime, and that's why the sheriff's office handles that, not ICE agents. ICE agents don't handle squatters. I don't know where you're from, but ICE agents don't handle squatters. You're U.S. citizens. Yes, you should be evicted by the sheriff, but you are not a Venezuelan gang member who needs to be, extracted out of your room, your apartment, like a movie, in the middle of the night. The sheriff handles that crime for squatting, not ICE agents.
Okay, gotcha. Just real quick, Monica, please let me have this.
Well, but my 2 questions are super easy.
Can I just say this real quick? I promise I will be quick.
Go ahead.
They went for the purpose not to get the one American woman and have her be uncomfortable. The primary purpose was to solve a problem. And this was the byproduct of it, and it clearly was a mistake. Now, when you're dealing with, when you're talking about soldiers, or if you're talking about police officers, or if you're talking about security, sometimes people get hurt, and it's not meant for them to get hurt. What you're trying to say, the way that these conversations are often framed is because a person who incidentally was there when they were working on a major operation, that the majority of the people who are being detained or being apprehended are the ones that are being sought, and then they just so happen to find her. You're saying that the whole thing is wrong and we should just throw the whole thing out when it's an unfortunate casualty. I'm not saying that it's right, but you can't hang your hat on that.
Correct, clearly.
I said ICE agents should have done enough better intel to realize there are civilians in there that, yes, are breaking the law with heinous demeanor, that do not need federal agents to address. So, I can't believe they didn't do enough intel to realize.
The thing of it is, let me ask you a question, Ruth, in all sincerity.
You got it, Joe. You got it. Go ahead, Joe.
In all sincerity, wait.
Oh, shucks. Don't hurt my feelings. Jeez.
You know he's being rude on purpose to get you mad. Don't fall for the bait.
Moose, I want to ask in all sincerity, and then I promise, Monica, you can ask him your follow-up questions. In all sincerity, Moose, if they're squatting and there is no lessee, there's no rental agreements to review to indicate who is housed in that building, and they have good intel that this Venezuelan gang has gone in and set up shop in this building, How are they supposed to vet who is in that building without
Oh my God,
potentially tipping off the rest of the Venezuelan gang members that they're looking into that building? There's no way to vet that. I mean, it's not like they could go to a property manager and say, give us a list of your tenants. I don't know what else you could have expected them to do to identify exactly who was in the building without tipping the entire building off that they're looking at them.
It's a fair question. That's a fair question. I mean, there is it's at the bottom. I guess at the end of the day,
Just say you have a point, and you don't have to extemporize longer, knowing that I've been waiting for 4 speakers to go before me to ask my simple two little questions.
So
I understood that the ICE raid. Thank you. Appreciate you. I understood that the ICE raid happened at 1 a.m. Is that correct?
Yes.
Because the people who were talking about it were very offended that there were 3 or 4 children out on the street unclothed, completely naked. Is that true?
The pajamas was the reference. They said almost naked or in pajamas.
Got you. Okay, thank you.
Wow, do you guys see how the framing is meant to enrage? They're pulling out children naked, not saying it's 1 o'clock in the morning and most people have on pajamas around that time. And then to also say, well, it's not good intel because there's no way to find out any record about the person. What it boils down to is there's nothing that these people can do that is going to be good enough because you don't want them to do it. Like, just say you don't want to do it. Just say you don't give a fuck about poor Black people being terrorized in their own communities, criminals who are both in this country and not in, and also who are in this country illegally. Just say it. Just say you don't give a fuck. Just say you don't care. Just say that you're perfectly fine living on the west side. Maybe you have a remote to your gate, and you go in there, and it makes you feel really good to make it seem like you care about these people when you really don't give a fuck. Because if you knew what went on into these neighborhoods, you wouldn't have the opinion that you have. The only reason you have the luxury to have this opinion is because you never have to live there.
Brandy, to answer your question, the reason they couldn't get a list was because they were all squatting. They weren't there legally. They were all squatting in that building. Nobody was supposed to be in that building.
If I could offer up something in terms of the squatting, there was somebody who reported that people had changed the locks and were squatting. I haven't seen anything definitive. It'd be great to see that if you have that. I think that it was unreasonable in terms of if you have individual specific judicial warrants, that's one thing, but when you don't, it appeared to be excessive force to me. And there are child welfare laws as well. You can't zip tie a minor unless they pose an immediate threat.
Excuse
me, I was still talking.
Yeah, but you've got a detail wrong. I'll yield. You can go. No, don't be a diva. About the zip tie, tell us more.
I'm good, thank you.
Except you're not. Wait, did I get this wrong? Isn't it in the title? Serendipity, can you help me? Where were the kids zip tied? Like, if I'm wrong, I'll stand a correction, but I understood that Hakima's PTR is way wrong. Way wrong. A toddler was running out on the street and his cop dad handcuffed him for a joke. It had nothing to do with the illegal immigrants. So, Madison, can you share what you're talking about? Because maybe we are talking about 2 different things. I'll provide my link if you share with us yours.
Sure, I can share a link. There were witnesses. There was a neighbor, AP News, Reuters, local Chicago television said that children were zip-tied during the raid.
Except that it looks like it wasn't true.
that it was reported that way, but then they realized that it was a little kid whose dad was chasing him and put handcuffs on him, and we weren't zip tied, they were handcuffs, which would have fallen off of him anyway, they were so loose. Like,
So
would you be able to, okay, in this case, if the people who are saying that this was a story that the media ran away with, and maybe people on your side believed, and if we can provide to you proof that it didn't happen, could we be at some place where we agree that we're getting fed a lot of information that's causing people to be enraged, information that isn't true?
Well, for me, first of all, I don't have a side in anything, and I went by the sources that I just listed, as well as a local Chicago Independent News website and eyewitness testimony. And of course, there are two things that convict: physical evidence and eyewitness testimony. So it depends on who we want to believe.
Well, what I'm saying is that I did see the little kid being chased. I saw the little kid being handcuffed. He looked about...
Link is in the chat.
...to 2. And it was a joke. And so what I'm saying is that the media can get it wrong. Can we just agree that sometimes the media gets it wrong because it fits into a narrative that they want to run with? Because the story's wrong. Like the child's father came on and said, "That's my kid. I was playing a joke."
Madison, that's the kid. That's the same kid, Madison. Click on my link. Look at the video. Look at the whole video.
X is a great resource. So, are you saying there's just one child?
Hold on.
One child in question?
Hold on.
Yes, that is the only child that any photo has been provided of, and DHS has actually come out and said that they reject the report that children were zip tied, emphasizing that ICE officers do not restrain minors.
Respectfully, Serendipity Dawn is putting in the chat. I think I saw similar things too, that they were saying it was multiple children, not the infamous one with the father.
There were only 4 children. There were 4 children detained in that entire day, ages 9 to 12, and there were 4 children that were detained because of either they were illegal or their parents were illegal, and they were aged 9 to 12. But DHS is saying that none of them were zip tied.
I can go with that if that's what's been uncovered. I haven't had a chance to watch the video yet.
Can you do it right now, Madison? It's not very long.
Sure, I'll check it out.
Thank you. I appreciate that. A lot of people think, look, when I'm fighting against information, if it's true, I wouldn't fight against it. I wouldn't argue we're missing something here. And the number of people that make up terrible stories, when sometimes the truth needs no embellishment. Sometimes the truth is ugly and terrible enough. Just share the truth. When I put in zip-tied kids in X and Moose, you can be stupid about X and not find it valuable, or you can realize it's a diamond mine with coal and you have to work a bit to get the value out of it. Like, I missed my point because I was fussing Moose. Doggone it. Doggone it!
No, but we get your point though, Monica. What you're basically saying is the truth doesn't need to be embellished. Yeah.
I searched for zip-tied kids on X, and the latest story was one from May where an 18-year-old teenager was zip-tied with his family, and the younger children weren't. And I put that in chat too.
And see, the greater problem is not the woman, and she sounds nice. I don't have anything, I don't have any animosity towards you. The evil is the fact that she's gotten this information and it's not correct. And it's causing us to go at each other, hate each other, because it's a half truth is a lie, you guys.
Yes.
I
And
watched
you know,
the video.
okay.
Sorry if I interrupted. But that I've never seen. I wasn't going off of that particular child at all. So
The link you shared was that child.
no, I did. I haven't shared any links. So
I'm sorry.
It's okay. But what I was going by, and which I said before, was multiple eyewitness statements from residents and neighbors that zip tying was used, including on children, and the consistency of multiple independent news outlets. And I think these are persuasive. They're not conclusive. I'm not saying that they're conclusive. Maybe we'll find out later on. Maybe we'll find out later on from body cam footage, chain of custody records, their logs, different things like that. But right now, the preponderance of evidence is saying that children were zip tied. Now, if there's something that goes against that, and I'm not including the video, I hadn't even seen that kid who was playing. Somebody has something else, let me know.
It was Nastami. Nastami shared an Instagram video of the kid that we are specifically referencing. And preponderance, Madison, preponderance is not fair. It's not a preponderance of evidence. It's a couple of people reporting. And that's not that it's not evidence, but it's not a preponderance. And we should ask for more evidence than just anecdotal stories.
Well, again, that's what actually convicts people to many years in prison is one person even saying that somebody did something. And so what I said was there are multiple witness statements, and you have so many multiple independent news outlets that are reporting that they run the risk of also, and we all know that this is not always true. I'm not saying that it is. I'm just saying it leans in that direction.
But here's where my suspicion comes in. Everybody always has a cell phone. I just find it hard to believe that if children between the ages of 9 and 12 were put in zip ties, nobody on a street that's heavily dense would have gotten a photo?
Right, there were lots of other photos and footage of that raid. It showed adults in zip ties. Even the body cam of the ICE officers, apparently Christy Nome has released to some extent, and there were lots of personal videos and pictures floating around, none that included children. Everybody has searched high and low to try and find one. That would be the photo everyone is looking for.
And when the last speaker said multiple independent news sources reported on this, you have to say that with the understanding that one person said it, one news source picked it up, and then all the other news sources cited that other source. So it's a bit of a game of telephone with that. It's not like they all have reporters on the ground who were party to this event.
Yeah, I'm aware of various publicist, and I used to write for the Reuters news service. And I'm going to tell you guys, there is so much pressure to be the first or one of the first to break a story. They don't even, they half-bake things because the worst thing in the world for them is to miss a story. They would rather risk getting it wrong than not reporting on it if it's something that they know that their demo will want to see, or if it fits into a narrative.
Free safe here.
I think Derisa was talking to me when you were talking about how news works. I did news for CBS for over 20 years. I know exactly how it works. What I was referring to when I said independent websites, I was talking about nonprofits like bookclubchicago.org. If you want to look up that site, you can. Southside Weekly Chicago. So those were independent sources that I was relying upon in addition to AP and Reuters.
Okay, fair, but are they citing their own original reporting, or are they citing some hearsay that they heard somewhere else? The point stands.
What I read was not just duplicitous in terms of just sharing what was already shared, and I read it like right when it happened a couple days ago, and so that's what I was going off of. But so if you guys are positing that there were no zip ties, do you think that the children were detained or no?
Yes.
Okay, and so if they were detained, they were just running around willy-nilly in a U-Haul? How did they actually detain them?
They detained them in vans on the scene until they were able to place them with guardians. Some up to 3 or 4 hours was what the news was reporting. Yeah, I do believe that they were detained. I do believe that it was probably very traumatic for them. Honestly, the thought of them being ripped from their beds and zip tied and drug out was horrifying to me. It was absolutely horrifying to me. But at the time, I believed the news reporting and that this was just an apartment building full of potential antibodies. And when I found out that that was not in fact the case, like they had good intel that this Venezuelan gang had set up shop here in this vacant building. And based on the premise of that, that changes things for me. And I'm still horrified that those children were traumatized. I mean, it's never okay to traumatize children, but I have to hold the adults responsible that were squatting in those apartments with them. Like, you're setting yourself up. You're setting your children up for that kind of dangerous potential when you're squatting and you're violating the law and you're not housing them appropriately.
Now, why would you assume that people were squatting based on hearsay?
No,
I believe other elements based on.
If you look in the video above, yes, the entire building was supposed to be vacant.
Madison, there was posted legal notice.
Yes, there was posted legal notice. The building had been foreclosed on. The bank owned the building, and then they were going to renovate it before rehiring a property management contract. It was a vacant building. It was supposed to be vacant. No one was supposed to be in there.
To Madison's point, though, so let's say it's not zip ties. You're taking anyone into custody, right? But, children, for their own safety, like they have to somehow. Like, I don't think they gave a bunch of seatbelts in the police van or the ICE van they drove off in. They had to be detained, be in a bar with a handcuff or a zip tie or something to secure them. I don't see how else you take children into custody. I don't think the ICE agent just said, "All right, kids, everybody has to sit down now. This is quiet time."
No,
while their parents, while their family are being traumatized.
ICE was not allowed to transport them. They actually had to stay in the van on the site. DHS is the only one that can actually transport the children. And to my knowledge, DHS was not called to pick them up because they were basically just trying to place each of the children with a legal guardian.
That makes more sense.
So, I just wanted to clarify.
Was that you that was just saying the family was getting traumatized? No, those grown-ass adults traumatized their own children by coming to America and being drug dealers. I'm sorry. The children, my heart goes to, because I don't think they were taken in the route that they should have been. But to get them away from those little fuckers, yeah, I don't know what you do. I don't think they had enough staff to take them away appropriately. But as far as the family being traumatized, no. Their parents deserve to be in prison if they have to get shipped out of the U.S. and sit in prison for the rest of their lives. I'm sorry.
No, Beth, I think respectfully, you misunderstood. I didn't say the drug dealing family, the actual drug dealers, the actual cartel members. I said that the citizens that were caught up in it, that were squatting, that were allegedly squatting, that were not at all, had zero connection to the Venezuelan cartel. Specifically, those families and their trauma. But go ahead, Teresa. I mean, it's cut you off.
Not at all. Alright, so I have something to clarify about the article in Book Club Chicago. I am familiar with Book Club. I stay on top of news in Chicago as a city that I'm interested in, and a place I lived for many years. Anyway, the only original reporting I see in the article is where it says residents told Book Club that their doors were kicked in. There's nothing about children being zip-tied. The only reference to children being zip-tied is a direct quote from a press conference that J.B. Pritzker, the governor of Illinois, gave, where he said there's widespread report children being zip-tied. So they don't have anyone that they reported on saying children were zip-tied. In fact, they didn't even quote anyone. They just said residents told book club their doors were kicked in. So that's kind of weasel reporting, in my opinion, where they can't even quote someone directly. In any case, the only mention of zip ties are, again, J.B. Pritzker saying it or them citing a New York Times article.
And the fact, sorry, I was taking a shower while I was listening, but whoever mentioned about the fact they came in at 1 a.m. I work for Department of Corrections for the state of Virginia, for only 3.5 years. But my job, the only job I had, was to do home verifications. And guess when I found them? I found them on Super Bowl Sunday. I found them. I knew exactly when to find them. Guess when I found them? Between 11 at night to about 2 o'clock in the morning. It wasn't a fun job. Kind of scary, but I knew these people weren't going to hurt me because their life depended on me. Because if I violated them, they'd be back in prison. But that is not a weird time for government officials to come in. 1 o'clock in the morning? No, not. You know you're going to find the little shit somewhere.
So I see that I've been trying to dig deep into this building, and I've been doing that. And what I'm finding is that, yes, it was into foreclosure, but right after the raid, Wells Fargo put it into receivership. And when they did, they treated it as an operating apartment building, not an abandoned building. So receivers are appointed to stabilize income properties, typically like with rent rolls and tenants. And so just based on that move alone, I'm looking for leases and that sort of a thing. But it does look like some of the units were abandoned, but it doesn't look like everybody in that building was squatting from what I've been able to find out so far.
What's the address, please?
1 second. 7500 South Shore Drive, Chicago, 60649. I've got the parcel number if you need that as well.
Madison, I've actually been looking at the same thing. Apparently 2 weeks ago, county inspectors had come out and basically condemned it. Put the notice up on the building that it was condemned and that, the building housed dozens of residents, largely including undocumented individuals who were occupying vacant units, often referred to as squatters. I'm looking to see if there was actually anybody like on a lease.
I know a cell board in Detroit that runs like 14 buildings like that are basically condemned, and nobody's doing anything about it, and they still collect rent every month.
Chicago building inspectors visited property 2 weeks prior to the raid on September 16th. They documented unsafe conditions such as broken windows, water damage, mold, broken doors, illegal electrical setups. So, observed. The building's history includes prior city lawsuits over slum-like conditions, leading to vacate orders in nearby buildings. Because I wondered the same thing. I was like, let's just verify and make sure there was no like active leases in this building.
The last time I see a unit available for rent publicly listed was in 23.
I thought there were still active listings on, I think, apartments.com.
Hey moderators, I'd like to get put in the queue. I know this address question is interesting, but if I could get 60 seconds of your precious clown house time.
No, mods, please.
We can, both sides of the aisle can agree on that, I think, Teresa.
myoffice.com, you can, just 2 weeks ago, you can rent. It's $9.75 a month at this very building.
Well, the building was in ruins and partially occupied by squatters. The residents were living there under dire circumstances, and the raid abruptly displaced many without prior notice or relocation support. It doesn't really. Let me see how I can mention it.
Serendipity, this comes back to a question I had earlier, for all the people that have so much concern about everything, but they don't do anything about it. They don't go to their city council. They don't go anywhere. They just come onto social media and bitch about it, but they don't do anything to help anything. I mean, my daughter was an asshole in high school and in middle school. Guess what I did? I went to school board meetings. Hey, we need to get tighter rules. Apparently, children are misbehaving at school. But nobody does anything about it.
I think the ultimate lesson.
I just want to call attention to that classic title you have there. That's it.
Yeah, Madison, I just checked out the links you put in the chat, and there are indeed active and current listings. Is that addressed?
Listings can be up and not actually be real or active.
Abandoning them amid restructuring.
I mean, I think this is a great lesson. If everybody's so concerned for, excuse my maybe slight attitude, everybody's concerned for the kids and stuff, like, I get that. But when individuals who own private property are prevented from exercising their rightful control over their private property, social order is going to deteriorate. That social deterioration is going to invite the beautiful and wonderful coercive state that's going to come in, and it's going to harm things that could have been completely preventable.
We already live with a corrupt judiciary, Bima. Nothing's new under the sun. It's already corrupt.
I'm just saying. So if you're one of those people who think that you have some, I have no idea, God, you're weird. It's pretty much insanity, however you're going to justify it. Right to control other people's private property, or you think government should limit people from how they control their private property. Well, this is an excellent example. People lose control of their private property. Okay, so then what happens? Criminal occupation, and then the state comes in violently and harms some innocent people. Innocent people get harmed in the making. Just let peaceful people who own private property handle their private property. They control it. It's private property or it's not. So we can't even call it private property. It's a contradiction here in the United States, because you don't actually have the right to use and get rid of your private property. What is private property?
Huh? Well, I mean, I don't have any issue with enforcement. I think that all laws, especially immigration laws, need to be enforced, period. But if you're renting or squatting, if you're an American citizen, you need probable cause, you need a warrant, and a proportional use of force and humane treatment, period. That's where I land on it. So do what the hell you got to do in terms.
Yeah, well, when you have international narcotic terrorists living in apartment buildings in Chicago, sometimes a military response is warranted.
So, Deputy, okay, I want to clarify one other thing. You have to go on a site more like Redfin to verify that listings are current and active. Those have to be verified as you having the exclusive right to rent them on the MLS systems. Where apartments.com is sort of like a Craigslist that you pay for. Anyone can post anything. You can leave up your posts indefinitely. So the fact that it's not on Redfin, but it is on apartments.com, indicates it probably is an idle ghost.
It's a listing platform. They're both listing platforms.
And I would like to
They're
say,
not the same platform.
I would like to say too that ICE did have probable cause warrants for that raid.
Well, then that confirms what Madison is saying. Madison agrees with the actions they took.
In that
Yes, it
building,
was
they should have had individual apartments.
The private property
They
owner should have.
they couldn't because they couldn't validate.
Wanted to bounce back and
But they did have probable cause and reasonable grounds to conduct the raid, and it had been approved by DHS.
Government shouldn't interfere with people that have private property. Let them deal with their own private property their way.
They didn't. They were squatters. It wasn't their private.
Yeah, and if that was true, Bima, nobody would have to pay property taxes.
Hey, John, control yourself. I'm not talking about the squatters. I'm talking about the people who own the building. Who does the private property belong to?
You keep saying squatters if there's evidence that somebody was a squatter, but y'all need evidence that people were zip tied. Like, you can't have it both ways. There's no evidence to show that everybody was squatting in that building.
No, there's no evidence, but there is evidence to show that the building was primarily occupied by Venezuelan squatters.
Oh, there is evidence of that?
Yeah, there's hold on. Oh shit! Damn it! I just lost my link.
Yeah, they had probable cause. Do you think they just went in there without any paperwork?
Guaranteed they weren't able to deal with. You think that the bank, that they had no idea what was going on with their building?
It's an investor. It's an owner. It has nothing to do with the legal enforcement that came down on the illegal aliens in that building.
Most of the time what happens, and this is, whatever, is there are squatters, then you can't legally take care of them because you have all this red tape of what you can and can't do.
We're talking about two entirely different things. If you're enforcing landlord rights against squatters,
That's not good enough evidence.
And have you guys? I mean, there's been stories about squatters that have gone into homes. There was one woman who inherited her mother's house and could not get into the home illegally and got arrested because she was like, "I did not sanction this. These people were in my house." And she was, you guys.
The building reported them.
I really can't.
The building reported the squatters. According to this report. ICE's authority to enter and search the building stemmed from a judicial warrant that was issued by a federal judge based on the probable cause that the property was being used as a hub for illegal immigration-related activities, including human smuggling and harboring undocumented individuals. The sources for the probable cause warrant included residents and property managers of the building reporting an ongoing issue with these squatters. Surveillance and observation plans then went into place. ICE agents conducted preliminary observations from public areas to gather evidence of the unauthorized occupancy, such as multiple unrelated individuals entering and exiting, signs of overcrowding, and discarded belongings. Under the Fourth Amendment plain view observations, these also contributed to the probable cause warrant. The building's visible disrepair, shattered windows, debris-filled hallways, and ransacked units suggested that it was in a state of obvious neglect, making it easier to identify as a squatter hotspot. Collaboration also with local law enforcement and the property owners. The new management company overseeing the building provided records of unpaid utilities, unauthorized utility hookups, eviction notices for squatters, alerting ICE to the presence of non-tenant occupants that they could not remove. ICE oftentimes partners with local law enforcement for joint operations and building access logs and maintenance reports to show irregular occupancy patterns. This is all part of their probable cause warrant.
So if there was a judicial warrant, I would love to see the link to that, because if there was, ICE most definitely has shown it. They would not omit something like that. So that warrant should be all over the place. I'd love to see it.
Did you see? Is it a new endorsement?
I'll work to substantiate my claims, but there is a point in time when people are asking me to work too hard, and maybe the onus of research and validation could be shared, since I'm not getting paid for my labor.
Yeah, I mean, I figured that. All I did was ask because the Fourth Amendment was mentioned. Because yes, you do need a judicial search warrant, but that's why not just an ICE administrative warrant. Okay, so all I'm saying is that if they had a judicial search warrant, that shit should be plastered everywhere, and it should be relatively easy to just post it. That's all I'm saying. Not doing actual work. If you're reading from something and that's what it's saying, I'm just asking to see it because I would love to see it.
Madison, by my count, your arguments are like, you haven't won one yet. And it's been civil discourse, and I appreciate it. But I'm making supper and Serendipity is driving.
No, I'm not. I'm
sorry.
I got it.
Who said they were driving? Okay.
I'm pulling her information right now. Apparently Chicago Sun-Times reported that there was a judicial warrant. Reports indicate the operation was supported by judicial warrants, including arrest warrants for specific individuals, 6 high-priority targets with gang ties. Residents and witnesses reported agents referencing warrants for entry and detentions, though some accounts describe a broad sweep. Chicago Sun-Times is from CBS News is one of the ones that reported that there were judicial warrants for this raid. Judicial warrants for federal operations like this are typically sealed and not immediately available for public release due to ongoing investigations. However, related court documents are accessible via the Clerk of Circuit Court of Cook County's online search portal. So, there you go.
You see, it's just a big nothing burger when it comes to liberals and their fall rage about enforcement of laws, protection of our citizens. It's always just a wasted time nothing burger.
And depending on the state you live in, I don't know 1 out of the 50 that you give a 15-day notice, which that's all they've given that. Illinois also says repeat that again at 30-day. Okay, cool. That's done. But the owner of the building has every opportunity to go out, take the doors off the hinges, and remove their doors. And whoever possibly comes in,
Beth, I'm sorry, but you're way off. Chicago, along with New York City, are some of the most anti-landlord cities as far as the legal system is structured. Like, the landlord would be in jail if they did that.
I will bring this up tomorrow morning if anybody's up at 6:30 Eastern time. I will bring this up in our in our early morning. It's called Birds, and we have agents all over the world, but we have a bunch in Illinois, and I want to hear their opinion on this. Actual professionals in that area that can speak on it. I don't sell real estate in that state. I pass it on, but yeah, there's things you can do.
Kitover, how about that poem?
Yeah, I'd be happy to read you a 60-second poem. Thanks for asking, Monica. And great room, by the way. Sometimes, you know what I realize is it's really like a me problem. Why, if I come on Clubhouse and I listen to people and they're making me angry, I feel like at that point where I'm just like, it's totally a me problem. There's no reason to get angry with anybody on here for what they say, how they say it. It's insane to sit here and just yell at people that you don't agree with because you don't like what they're saying. It's just, I don't see how that benefits me personally. And so, because, my peace and my stability and my equilibrium and my harmony and balance, like that's what's more important than getting into a heated conversation with somebody on this app that I don't agree with. But let me go on to the poem. Well, that's why I read books.
It's the problem of the parents, not the kids. I mean, these days with the domestic terrorism that we have, that's rampant everywhere. If I take my kids to church, if I send my kids to school, and they get their heads blown off by some of these crazies, which is rampant in our society right now, but nobody wants to talk about it, then I guess it's my issue as a parent. I shouldn't have done that.
Well, I like the book club, aka a library, which can be a greater parent than a lot of negligent parents. And it's up to you to want to change your life. If you want to add programming to your life, it's called reading a book. No one's ever learned a thing on Clubhouse, and I have all the psychological observational studies to prove it.
Thanks for walking us through your stream of consciousness, John.
Can I ask a question real quick? Why today, when we talk about the safety of children and stuff like that in school, people love to bring up school shootings, right? Like, we need to look out for the children, we need to pass these laws and stuff like that. Honestly, I hate when people do that because honestly, they really don't give two shits about kids' safety. Because if they did, then they would be lobbying to get seatbelts on school buses, right? Not a single fucking seatbelt is on a fucking school bus if you really